Welcome back, everybody, to the Boston Celtics Newsfeed, powered by CLNS Media. I'm Mike Walsh, manager of the Celtics Newsfeed, and this is day 24 of our 2017-18 NBA preview. We'll be going day by day, releasing team previews leading up to opening night, October 17th in Cleveland. Before we get started today, I wanted to mention that the CLNS Media team has been all over training camp, and our YouTube page at youtube.com/CLNS Media is packed with content from preseason games, practices, and that Shamrock Gala fundraiser from the other night. So head over to youtube.com/CLNS Media, subscribe, you won't miss a thing. Each of these preview podcasts will be accompanied by an outline blog post on our site, clnsradio.com. Today I'm going to be speaking with CLNS Media writer David Ostrowsky about his preview for the Toronto Raptors. With a lot of intrigue surrounding the Celtics, Cavaliers, Bucks, and 76ers this season, Toronto is somewhat slipping under the radar as a quality contender in the Eastern Conference. The Celtics will meet their Atlantic Division rivals 4 times during the regular season, starting on Sunday, November 12th in Boston. They'll then play Tuesday, February 6th up in Toronto, followed by Saturday, March 31st back in Boston, and then just a short time later, they'll play on national television on ESPN. That's Wednesday, April 4th in Toronto. So without further ado, let's get into day 24 of the Boston Celtics Newsfeed's 2017-18 NBA season preview with David Ostrowsky and the Toronto Raptors.
All right, guys, we're here with day 24 of the Boston Celtics Newsfeed's 2017-18 NBA season preview, and we're talking the Toronto Raptors playing against the Boston Celtics this season. Toronto, entering the year, is going to be one of these teams we talked about with the Washington Wizards. I like the continuity of this team. David Ostrowsky on the line, CLNS Media writer. I'm curious to get your take, David. Is continuity that big of a deal in the NBA, or are these guys just straight professionals that can play with anybody?
Well, I mean, for the Raptors, let's say they've, made it to the conference finals only once in their existence. So I think there's, some expectations and even a little impatience in that for this team to kind of get over the hump and maybe, get a chance to get into the NBA finals to represent the East. And I don't think that's going to happen this year, even though they've had the backcourt in place for a few years now. And it's really a good one with DeRozan and Lowry, 2 of the best guards in the league. The bench is just incredibly thin. There's a huge drop-off after those 2 guys. So while they have some good chemistry playing together, I believe that, take away those 2, and they got a nice young center in Valanciunas and, Serge Ibaka, they re-signed, they upped him to a 3-year deal. The gap between them and Cleveland, in Boston for that matter, is just too big. I think you saw that last year in May when the conference semifinals, Cleveland swept them in 4 games. Toronto wasn't really that close at all. So still think there's too much of a gap there. Yeah, like you said, there is some continuity, but I think at the end of the day, I think that there's really no way they can compete with those 2 teams.
Yeah, so you have them sort of charging up that second echelon with the Washingtons and the Charlottes. And yeah, I'm just curious. Last year it did seem like they kind of had the Celtics number. You have them, I think they beat the Celtics 3 out of 4 games. Obviously, major changes have taken place with the Celtics. How do those changes in particular affect this matchup? The addition of Gordon Hayward, Kyrie Irving, does that better help the Celtics counter DeRozan and Lowry for the most part?
I would think so. I mean, I think obviously DeRozan and Lowry offensively at least are pretty talented, especially DeRozan. I mean, he scored, 27.3 points a game last year or something like that. And, I think obviously there's an upgrade there with with Irving over Thomas, the perimeter defense. So, yeah, I think that can help. I mean, I think, between Toronto and Boston, quite frankly, there's not that big a talent gap that, Toronto couldn't split the season series or even take 3 out of 4 again. I also think Toronto, the coaching, Dwayne Casey is one of the better coaches, in my opinion, anyways, in the league. And like you said, there's some continuity there of the team. So, yeah, I think, sure, Toronto could pose as a challenge to the Celtics on any given night. And I also think, in the front court, Valanciunas is one of the better rebounding big men in the league. And the Celtics are a little deficient in that area, or at least they were that year. So I would think that could lead in Toronto's favor.
Yeah, so earlier we mentioned Toronto hasn't, had successful basketball in a while, and this run is sort of unprecedented in their history. So do you think they felt almost forced to make these moves where over the offseason their big acquisitions come internally? They re-signed Serge Ibaka to 3 years, $65 million. They re-signed Kyle Lowry 3 years, about $100 million. Did they feel kind of pressured to do that just because they can't go backwards now? They have to, see this thing through to the end and hopefully get over the hump one of these years?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, they're committed to the short term now. You saw that last summer where they re-signed DeMar DeRozan, for a medium term deal. So I think they're all in on it in the present. And I think Valanciunas, again, is one of the, more promising big men in the league. So, yeah, I don't think they're in a rebuilding mode by any means. I think it's kind of just a wait and see now to see what happens with, Cleveland getting a little older. And maybe that, is a window of opportunity for them to rise in the East. Again, I just don't see it happening this year, given that the bench is just really thin on this Toronto team. I mean, only diehard basketball fans, and I don't even think I'm one of them, would be able to name one single player before doing this post on their bench. And I think that's really where you see the drop-off.
Yeah, it is pretty low, and they don't get a ton of help through the draft. They wind up picking late in the first round OG Anunoby out of Indiana. Like guys like Jakob Podol and KJ McDaniels. You mentioned Norm Powell is the one name to kind of look at there.
Today's episode of the Newsfeed Preview Podcast is sponsored by Greats, makers of the all-time greats. That's classic, stylish, and comfortable sneakers sold at a great price. Greats is Brooklyn's first sneaker company. They have a wide selection of both men's and women's shoes, versatile styles suitable for any occasion, tons of different colors, materials to choose from, such as the pair I have, the all-leather Royale lace-ups. I have white on white. They look really cool. I've been wearing them, breaking them in for a couple weeks now. They're very comfortable, and they look great with pants, shorts. I can wear them all the time with no-show socks. You can check those out along with their other great styles at greats.com. We've got a special deal for our audience as well. Save 15% on your first order with the offer code Celtics Roundtable. Go to greats.com. That's GREATS.com and enter Celtics Roundtable to save 15% at checkout. Greats also has so much faith in their shoes that they're going to offer you a no-risk return and exchange policy, guaranteeing you get the right fit and style that you're going to love. That's greats.com. Enter the code Celtics Roundtable and save 15%.
Let's go back to last year. The Serge Ibaka move, the PJ Tucker move. PJ Tucker obviously has moved on since then. What were your thoughts on those at the time? Because when they happened, I actually thought, got frustrated with Danny Ainge, thinking, he has tunnel vision, got stuck, staring at Paul George and Jimmy Butler. Nothing happened, and everybody else around them got better. What did you think of those moves that they happened, and obviously they didn't work out down the road?
Yeah, no, Ibaka's a really nice player. I would have liked to see him in Celtic Green. He's a really good defensive player, right? He had a lot of success at Oklahoma. I think, again, it's a nice complementary piece. The other one, I'm not too familiar with PJ Tucker. I believe he was in Phoenix before, and they got him in a trade, right? Again, a nice complementary piece. I don't think that these are the kind of guys that are going to lift the team over the, hump against Cleveland or even Boston. I mean, if you look at, Horford, you compare him to Ibaka or Tucker, there's a pretty big talent gap there, at least offensively, you would think. But, for now, there's a salary cap and they have a lot of money tied to the backcourt. So it seems like that's kind of the best they could do. And then, of course, Sullinger didn't work out. That's another good point to mention.
That would have been a bench piece for them.
Exactly. And that would have added some depth. And maybe they wouldn't have, who knows, re-signed Ibaka, but that did not work out. And he's now playing in China, I believe. Again, I think they're going to be a very competitive team. I predict them, finishing well above 500. I could see them, 48, 50 games, something like that. And, getting a third, fourth, or fifth seed. Yeah,
and it does seem that's kind of where they're going to be stuck for a while. They are locked in. I think over almost $90 million over the next 3 years each for Lowry, DeRozan, and Ibaka. It looks like, and that's definitely a hampering.
Yeah, and Lowry's got the injury concerns also. So
yeah. So it doesn't look like, in terms of a move they could potentially make to fill out that bench, is there anything they could do really? I mean, they have their own first round pick, but anybody you see expendable on this team that would net something?
Well, there's a lot of guys who are expendable. Would they net something? I don't really see it. No, I just think, like you said, they're committed to these guys right now, and I think, to be honest with you, just in terms of a team, they got to improve their three-point shooting. It was not very good last year, and especially DeRozan, for a guy who's really one of the better playmakers in the league, to shoot under 30% from downtown is not very good. So I think that's an area of focus. Again, he is one of the absolute, young studs in the league, no question about it, but he's not at the level yet of in the backcourt of a James Harden or a Russell Westbrook. He's not far off. He's pretty good.
Yeah, he's definitely an outlier with that 3-point shot, and that That's really the way the league is going. Even big men. I was talking earlier about Nikola Vucevic, who's trying to add 3-point shot too down in Orlando. But final record standings prediction from David Ostrowsky for the Toronto Raptors: 48-34, fourth place in the Eastern Conference. Behind who there?
Well, behind Boston,
Sure,
Cleveland.
yeah.
Cleveland. I would right now. I'm going to pick Cleveland, Boston. I still think LeBron's even at 32, going on 33, is the best player in the NBA, and I still like Cleveland to finish first, Celtics second, and then these guys third, and then some assortment of Chicago, Charlotte, Atlanta, Detroit. I'm sure I'm forgetting some teams, but afterwards.
Okay, so you do believe Toronto can get up to that 3?
I do,
ahead of Washington.
I wouldn't be shocked if they finished 6 either, but I think absolutely they have potential, and if I had to pick today, I think they would be the 3 seed.
All right. David Ostrowsky, thank you so much for joining us on day 24 of the Boston Celtics Newsfeed's 2017-18 NBA season preview. We'll talk to you soon, Dave.
Sounds good, Mike.
Big thanks to David Ostrowsky for joining us. You can find his book on Amazon, Game Over or Game On, How Pro Athletes Leave Sports and Enjoy the Game of Life. Thanks also to you guys for tuning in to day 24 of the Boston Celtics Newsfeed's 2017-18 NBA season preview. Again, you can get more analysis, read Ostrowsky's piece on CLNSradio.com, and view any of our previous episodes at youtube.com/CLNS Media. Follow CLNS on Twitter at CLNS Media and myself at CLNS_Walsh. Be sure to subscribe to the Celtics Newsfeed, rate and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, and of course, the CLNS Media Network's mobile podcast app. Head over to greats.com, pick yourself up a brand new pair of kicks. Use the code Celtics Roundtable to save 15% on those. Until next time, this is Newsfeed Manager Mike Walsh, signing off.